Some people will tell you that sensitivity is a weakness, that feeling too much is a problem, that your emotions are inconvenient, unwieldy, or even dangerous. And after a lifetime of hearing it, you might start to believe it. You might shrink, silence yourself, and wonder if the way your heart experiences the world, so vividly, so acutely, is something to apologize for. But here is the truth that no one told you. Being sensitive does not make you fragile. It makes you alive. It makes you human. It makes you capable of seeing, understanding, and feeling things that most people will never notice. You carry the weight of the world differently, and yes, that can be exhausting, confusing, even painful, but it is also a power that can be honed, nurtured, and turned into a force that allows you to live more deeply, love more fully, and connect in ways others cannot. You are not too sensitive. You are precisely as sensitive as you were meant to be, and that is a gift, even if it hasn't always felt like one. The difficulty, of course, is that the world is not built for people like you. It rewards toughness, detachment, and control, and it rarely honors vulnerability. And so, from an early age, you may have been conditioned to believe that your emotional intensity is wrong, that your empathy is burdensome, that your tears are inconvenient. Perhaps you were told to toughen up, or stop overthinking, or don't make a big deal out of it. And those phrases, repeated enough times, begin to echo inside your mind, shaping your self-perception. You start to censor yourself, to shrink away from the very instincts that make you alive. And yet, the more you do that, the more you feel a gnawing restlessness inside, a quiet but persistent sense that you are not fully inhabiting your own life, that something essential in you has been silenced or denied. That restlessness is your truth trying to speak. That ache is your heart reminding you that it is not a flaw to feel deeply. It is a compass pointing to the depths you were meant to explore. Being sensitive means you notice more than most. You notice the subtle shifts in tone, the unspoken feelings, the micro-expressions that reveal truth behind facades. You feel the undercurrent of tension in a room before it is named, the pain behind someone's smile, the joy behind someone's eyes. And because you feel it all, you are often the first to hurt, the first to cry, the first to take on the weight that others walk past. You are empathetic, attuned, and aware in ways that most people cannot comprehend. And yet the very intensity that makes you alive also leaves you vulnerable to exhaustion, disappointment, and overwhelm. And it is here, in this contradiction, that many of your struggles originate, not because there is anything wrong with you, but because society and those around you rarely see the value of your depth. They see the ripple, not the ocean underneath. They see the tears, not the courage it took to feel that deeply. They see the too much, not the beauty and clarity in your perception. And the pain of being told you are too sensitive goes beyond words. It becomes internalized, shaping the way you relate to yourself. You may find yourself suppressing emotions, denying needs, or forcing yourself to appear stoic when your body and soul are screaming for expression. You might question whether your reactions are reasonable, whether your feelings matter, or whether you are simply overreacting. And here is the hardest truth. Sensitivity in a world that does not honor it is exhausting, isolating, and often misunderstood. But that does not make you broken. It makes you human. And if these words are landing, if you feel the resonance of someone finally validating the depth of your experience, then stay. Stay here. This is a space built for hearts like yours, hearts that feel too much, that are often dismissed, that have been called too sensitive, as if that were a crime. Here, your sensitivity is not a problem. It is a superpower waiting to be reclaimed. And yet, the struggle of being sensitive is real. You might notice that you take criticism personally, that the opinions of others pierce more deeply than they should, that disappointment lingers longer than it ought. You might find yourself absorbed in the emotions of others, carrying their pain alongside your own, wondering if you are being too much in your care, your compassion, your desire to connect. And here is the revelation. This is not a failure of character, nor a flaw in your heart. It is simply the way you were built to perceive the world, and the challenge lies not in silencing your sensitivity, but in learning to navigate it without being consumed by it. Sensitivity is a gift only when you understand how to hold it, when you honor it without letting it dominate your sense of self, when you integrate it as a source of strength rather than a source of shame. And so the first step toward healing is validation. You must tell yourself, in moments when you feel overwhelmed or dismissed, that your feelings are real, that they are legitimate, that they matter. You must allow yourself to experience your emotions fully, without judgment or apology. There is no need to harden, to shrink, or to diminish the radiance of your own inner life to fit the comfort of others. Your intensity is not a liability. It is a lens through which you see the world with clarity and depth. And as you begin to claim this truth, as you allow yourself to feel without guilt, you begin to notice something profound. You are not alone. There are countless hearts beating like yours, feeling like yours, longing to be seen, understood, and honored. And in that connection, even if it is quiet and internal at first, you begin to recognize that being too sensitive does not mean being too much. It means being fully alive. And as you let yourself sit in this understanding, the first gentle seeds of transformation begin to grow. You start to notice the distinction between being overwhelmed by the world and being guided by your own intuition, the difference between absorbing others' emotions and navigating them with wisdom. You begin to practice discernment, to protect your energy without closing off your heart, to honor the depth of your feeling without letting it consume your life. You begin to recognize that sensitivity, when embraced and directed with care, is a source of empathy, creativity, and profound human insight. And perhaps, in these quiet realizations, you feel the stirrings of liberation, a life in which your sensitivity is no longer a burden, but a guiding force. And yet, the truth is, being sensitive is not just about feeling, it is about perceiving. You see nuances in interactions that others overlook. You sense tension, shifts in energy, and unspoken truths that go unnoticed. But this gift, extraordinary as it is, comes with its own challenges. You absorb far more than you were ever trained to handle. When someone's sadness brushes against your soul, it lingers. When criticism lands, it reverberates long after the words are spoken. You may have spent years believing that your reactions were excessive, that your emotions were a liability, that your depth of feeling was something to apologize for. But the more you examine it, the clearer it becomes. Sensitivity is not a flaw. It is a lens through which you experience life more fully, more honestly, and more empathetically than most. And the key is learning to navigate that lens, how to observe, feel, and engage without being consumed by the emotional intensity that accompanies it. And the challenge lies not in the sensitivity itself, but in how the world responds to it. Many environments, workplaces, friendships, even families reward stoicism, toughness, and emotional restraint. The sensitive are often misjudged as fragile, dramatic, or too much. And so you may have learned to shrink, to mute yourself, to deny the truth of your own experience. You may have silenced the part of yourself that notices, that feels, that intuitively knows what others miss. And in doing so, you inadvertently taught yourself to distrust your own perceptions. You began to question whether your emotions were valid, whether your insights mattered, whether your heart was too large for the world to hold. And that internal conflict is exhausting. It creates a life lived partially hidden, partially restrained, always holding back from the richness you were built to embody. But there is hope. Understanding your sensitivity begins with reclaiming your right to feel, your permission to inhabit your emotions fully without guilt or apology. You begin to recognize that the intensity of your experience is not a burden to bear silently. It is a gift to be stewarded consciously. And the moment you allow yourself to witness your feelings without judgment, you take the first step toward transforming them into a source of power rather than a source of exhaustion. You begin to notice how your awareness of subtleties can be a strength in relationships, in work, and in creativity. You start to understand that your capacity for empathy, for seeing beneath the surface, for feeling deeply, allows you to connect more authentically, to navigate life with a depth that others can only aspire to. And as this understanding grows, the weight of self-doubt begins to lift, and you feel a subtle freedom that perhaps you haven't known in years. And here is where transformation takes root, learning to set boundaries. Sensitivity is a double-edged sword. It allows you to perceive and feel profoundly, but without discernment, it can overwhelm you. You begin to notice who or what drains your energy versus who or what nourishes it. You practice saying no when something threatens your peace, and you learn that protecting your heart is not selfish. It is survival, it is wisdom, it is self-respect. And as you claim this space, as you honor your own emotional needs, you begin to witness a profound shift. Your sensitivity stops being a source of shame and starts becoming a compass, guiding you toward authenticity, alignment, and the people, experiences, and environments that honor your depth. You start to see that your gift is not in being liked by everyone or tolerated by the world. It is in living in alignment with your own truth, in honoring the intensity of your experience, and in navigating life with both courage and gentleness. And sometimes, as you practice this, you will stumble. There will be moments when the weight of others' emotions crashes into your consciousness, when criticism stings too sharply, when the world feels overwhelming and you want to retreat. But each of these moments becomes an opportunity to grow. You learn to breathe through the discomfort, to observe without being consumed, to acknowledge the feelings and then let them pass. You discover that being sensitive does not require isolation, but awareness, that depth does not demand fragility, but presence, that empathy does not mean surrender, but engagement with boundaries. You begin to understand that mastery of your sensitivity does not come from hiding it, denying it, or numbing yourself, but from embracing it fully, with skill, with care, and with compassion for yourself. And perhaps one of the most profound lessons is this: your sensitivity allows you to create, to love, and to live with richness that others cannot access. You notice details that bring beauty into ordinary moments. You connect with people at a level that feels almost sacred. You intuit the currents of human experience in ways that make your relationships deeper, your choices wiser, your life more vivid. And as this awareness grows, you begin to reclaim your identity from the shame and dismissal you may have carried for years. You see now that the label too sensitive is not a condemnation. It is a misunderstanding, a reflection of a world uncomfortable with the power of feeling deeply. And in understanding that, you step toward liberation. You step toward a life where your emotional depth is celebrated, where your intuition is honored, and where your heart, once quieted, begins to speak freely again. And perhaps, as you reach this point, you feel the first stirrings of peace. Not the absence of emotion, not the shutting down of feeling, but the kind of peace that comes from knowing yourself, from trusting your instincts, from navigating life in a way that honors your own intensity rather than punishing it. You may find yourself smiling more easily, creating more freely, loving more authentically, and engaging with the world without the constant fear of being too much. And if this resonates with you, if it feels like someone finally sees the gift in your sensitivity, then know this: you are not alone. There are hearts like yours all over the world, carrying depth, compassion, and awareness into a world that often does not understand. And together, even quietly, you are learning that your sensitivity is not something to hide. It is something to honor, cultivate, and wield with grace. And now, after the long hours of self-reflection, after learning to navigate your own emotions without fear or shame, you begin to feel a shift inside, a quiet, steady power rising where doubt once lived. You start to realize that your sensitivity is not a burden to endure. It is a lens through which you can engage with the world more profoundly, more fully, and more courageously than most. The richness of your experience, the ability to feel deeply, to notice the subtleties others miss, to connect in ways that transcend the surface, is a gift that has been with you all along. And now, for the first time, you allow yourself to claim it. You move through life with a new kind of confidence, one rooted not in the approval of others, but in the quiet certainty that your depth of feeling is a strength, not a flaw. Every tear, every pang, every moment when your heart was too much is now a testament to your resilience, to your courage, to the indomitable power of your emotional intelligence. And as you rise into this awareness, you begin to notice the ways your sensitivity shapes your relationships, your work, and your creativity. You notice how deeply you can empathize, how clearly you can perceive the needs and truths of others, and how profoundly you can create beauty from what you feel. Your presence becomes magnetic, not because you hide your emotions, but because you allow them to inform your authenticity. People are drawn to the honesty in your gaze, the compassion in your actions, the depth of your understanding. And perhaps for the first time, you feel a sense of alignment. Your inner experience matches the outer expression of your life. You are no longer dimming your light to make others comfortable. You are no longer apologizing for the breadth of your heart. You are fully, unapologetically yourself. And yes, there will still be moments when sensitivity feels overwhelming. Life does not become easy because you embrace your depth. There will be days when emotions threaten to drown you, when criticism lands too sharply, when the world feels too loud, too chaotic, too demanding. But now you meet these moments differently. You breathe. You observe. You allow the feelings to exist without surrendering to them. You have learned to hold space for yourself, to honor your boundaries, and to trust your resilience. And in doing so, you discover something extraordinary. Your sensitivity, far from being a weakness, becomes your compass. It guides you to authenticity, to compassion, to the right people, to the right choices, to a life that honors the very heart that once felt burdened. And as you walk forward, you start to notice a subtle joy in your own presence. You enjoy moments alone without guilt. You celebrate your small victories. You feel the beauty in the ordinary, the sunlight on leaves, the nuance of a stranger's smile, the layers of meaning in a conversation. You recognize that your capacity to feel deeply allows you to live more fully, to love more richly, to see the world with clarity and grace. And perhaps most importantly, you stop waiting for permission from anyone else to exist fully. You no longer shrink, no longer censor, no longer hide the intensity of your heart. You understand that your sensitivity is not something to be managed or contained. It is a superpower, a lens that allows you to see, create, and connect in ways others cannot. And maybe, in this newfound strength, you realize that being too sensitive is not a flaw, it is an evolution. It is the part of you that makes you alive, awake, and perceptive. It is the part of you that can feel both the darkness and the light, that can hold space for others while honoring your own needs, that can navigate the complexity of life with both courage and compassion. And in this understanding, there is liberation. You feel lighter, not because the challenges have disappeared, but because you have finally claimed the power that has always existed within you. You are no longer defined by what others called too much. You are defined by the depth of your heart, the clarity of your mind, and the integrity of your spirit. And so, as you continue moving forward, you carry this knowledge with quiet pride, that sensitivity is not a burden. It is a gift, a lens, a superpower. It allows you to experience life more profoundly, to connect more authentically, and to navigate the world with courage and grace. You have learned to honor your depth, to set boundaries, to trust your intuition, and to embrace the beauty of feeling fully alive. And when you reflect on the journey you have taken, the self-doubt, the exhaustion, the moments of despair, you realize this final truth. Maybe being too sensitive was never a problem. Maybe it was the very thing that allowed you to grow, to understand, and to rise into the person you were always meant to be. Maybe the world never understood you, and maybe some never will. But that no longer matters, because the person who truly matters, the one who inhabits your body, thinks your thoughts, and carries your heart, finally understands. And in that understanding, you are free. Free to feel, free to love, free to exist in all your brilliance, all your complexity, all your magnificent depth. And as you breathe in this freedom, as you move through life with courage and clarity, you finally know, maybe being too sensitive was never too much at all. It was exactly what the world needed, and exactly what you needed to become the fullest version of yourself.